I mean, just look at how it's changed release dates for movies and how shows like Walking Dead use it to get the word out. It's an amazing time, and we here at Sire Studios are really excited. We'll be there with some awesome mainstream and Descendant exclusives and some exclusive art prints starting Thursday at booth 1042. So I hope you guys can come check us out. Tonight is a jam-packed show, and we are brought to you by On Location Tours, the Super Tour of New York City. Discover where your favorite superheroes save the day on the Super Tour of New York City. You'll see over 40 filming locations from movies and TV shows like The Avengers, Spider-Man, Jessica Jones, and more. Receive 10% off with code SECRETS at checkout. It's heroes, comics, and more. I've done it. It's an amazing tour for both just casual fans and super geeky hardcore fans like myself. Birds of Prey trailer, Joker movie, Spider-Man, Return to the MCU, Secrets of the Sire starts now.
Secrets of the Sire.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Secrets of the Sire. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Sire Studios digital network. Secrets of the Sire is brought to you by On Location Tours, the Super Tour of New York City. You'll see over 40 filming locations from movies and TV shows like The Avengers, Spider-Man, and Jessica Jones. Receive 10% off with the code SECRETS at checkout. Heroes, comics, and more. Discover where your favorite superheroes saved the day. Go to the onlocationtours.com. You can actually go to secretsofthesire.com/onlocation, and that'll take you right to their site. Enter the code SECRETS at checkout. Awesome show tonight. Hassan, well, okay, first of all, brought to you by me, Michael Dolce, and brought to you with my co-host extraordinaire, the Lord of the live stream himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin, the Lord of the podcast. We're just going to call you the Lord of the podcast. How's that sound?
I like Lord of the live stream because it's alliterated.
It's alliterated, yeah. Okay, well, that's good. You are the Lord of the live stream.
I want to be the Lord of the radio. I spend a lot of money to be a Lord of the radio, but we're not on the radio. I understand your point.
Radio's dead, man. I have a
but
complaint.
The video killed the radio stuff. But all right, go ahead.
My complaint is that for many, many weeks, I've been scrounging the very depths of the internet trying to find topics of interest that our audience. I went so far as to get Kevin Bacon on the show, and
yes, you did
in Collective Soul, just to fill spots. No, I got
just to fill spots
because they're awesome.
Stop it!
I know.
We got to tell them that The World I Know is our favorite song.
That's right.
Even though it's not on their supposedly biggest hits album.
It's still it's on their greatest hits, yes, but not their biggest.
Not their biggest album, but it's definitely one of their biggest songs. So we got to tell them that. That's all that matters.
And finally, this week we've got Joker movie coming out. We got New York ComicCon. Come see Sire Studios at New York ComicCon, booth 1042. Come say hi. We got a lot of great exclusives, which you'll see in the commercial. We've got the mainstream New York Comic-Con exclusive. We've got a very limited run of Descendant comics made specifically for New York Comic-Con. And we got the Enter Sandman, Mariano Rivera, New York Yankees mashup print, mashing together a Jim Lee variant with Mariano Rivera, who's going into the Hall of Fame, all at booth 1042. And what happens? We get slammed. Oh, we got Chris Arrant coming on tonight, too. I mean, we're just slammed. Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey. Dropping trailers and posters. We've got Sire Bites full of juicy nuggets to talk about.
And here you are, like a typical internet Nazi, complaining.
Yes, I am complaining.
Stop complaining.
I am complaining.
You get nothing. You do nothing but complain. You complain when there's nothing. You complain when there's something.
No, I'm complaining when there's too much.
You're never going to be happy. There's no such thing as too much. There's no such thing.
All right. Well,
no such animal.
Thankfully, we've got Chris Arrant on to talk about the Tom Welling, Brandon Routh stuff.
You brought in help. You got some help, and now we're going to be able to discuss these things at length.
He's going to give us the lowdown on New York Comic-Con as well, too, because we are going to kick off our show with our Sire Bites. Spider-Man back in the MCU. So,
you called it.
How about that?
You called it.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, and Chris did, ironically enough. He was waiting to come back on again. But we talked about it when, a few weeks ago, it was negotiating in the public. It was sports negotiation 101. It was quarterback wants a new contract. Team doesn't want to pay him exactly
Sony screwed up, and therefore, and they overplayed their hands. Congratulations, you played yourself. Whether or not that's the truth or not, that's the spin I'm putting on it because they pissed me off. The whole situation it pissed me off. It really is. I mean, look, okay, Disney is the evil empire. It is. It is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I like a lot about Disney. I dislike a lot about Disney. Right? That's just the way it is. They're the monster we got to deal with. We want movies. We're gonna have to go to Disney. That's how it is. Okay, so these guys come along. They're off. They are right off. Their gigantic $1 billion Spider-Man movie, the first Spider-Man movie to make $1 billion, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes. Okay. So it's the first Spider-Man movie to make $1 billion. It defies all the odds. It defeats all the naysayers. Everyone's like, well, they're never going to make another great movie after Endgame. It's, this new, they want Spider-Man to take over their new Phase 5, and that's going to be terrible. He's not going to be able to fill Iron Man's shoes. He's not going to be able to do anything. Nobody blinked. We all went right to the theaters. We all grabbed these gigantic spoons. We ate the entire movie up like little starving children, right? Yep. There's rumbling coming along. Oh, well, this could be the last Spider-Man movie that the MCU does because of this and that, this deal. And everyone's like, that's not going to happen, though, because there's $1 billion. These guys just made $1 billion. They've turned Spider-Man into a viable franchise. Right. After the horrendous renditions of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which they have their merit. Those two movies have some merit, but they are an egregious cash grab. From a visual standpoint, they got a lot of things wrong, just like they got a lot of things. They got a couple of things right. They got a lot of things wrong. Fair enough, right? So, especially the lizard. I don't know what the heck was that about? But anyway, so they put out Into the Spider-Verse, and everyone was like, yeah, but they got Into the Spider-Verse. So, and then Into the Spider-Verse was made a killing critically. It got an Academy Award, but it didn't make a ton of money. So they're still for an animated film. It did, and way off their budget. They did, but go ahead. Yeah, but it's not a replacement for $1 billion movie, right? No. It's not an indication you do well with that. It's not an indication that you can take on Disney now. That's not a get out of jail free card, right? That means that you are making smart and concise business decisions in conjunction with your deal with this other major conglomerate that is actually helping you to push one of your properties into the stratosphere. Okay, so they have Venom. Venom does really well. Doesn't make $1 billion. Right. But it does really well. It defies odds. It defied my prediction. I thought that, and I don't even like the movie. I don't know why that movie. I have no idea why that movie. I can't tell you why it made all that money. I don't know why, but it did. It was the right place, right time. If they didn't put it up against anything else, people were just kind of hungry for something around this time of year, which is why I think the Joker movie, which we'll talk about next, I think is going to do also very, very well. Good for the Joker. We'll speak about it. But I mean, I don't begrudge them. I don't take anything away from them about it. It definitely did do the business it did. It definitely was an interesting movie. I saw the movie. It wasn't a bad movie. I didn't love it, but I mean, it wasn't a bad movie, right? So fair enough. Still, no indication that you could take on Disney, right? Spider-Man's the last one, actually. Far From Home's the last installment out of what we talked about because it was Venom, and then there was Into the Spider-Verse, and then Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home was the outlier, was the underdog, right? Because it had the most running against it. No, that's not true because Venom did. But everybody kind of knocked Venom off the list. Venom came up from behind, surprised everybody. So we didn't even have time to predict whether Venom would or wouldn't. We just thought it wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
and then it did. And so, okay, that sets a precedence for a game change. And then Into the Spider-Verse comes out, and people are like talking about whether that's going to do great business or not going to do great business. It didn't do the business everybody thought it was, but nobody thought it was going to win a damn Academy Award either. Okay, nobody thought it was going to become critically super acclaimed. So that does its business. So here comes Spider-Man: Far From Home, and everyone's like, the third time's not always the charm. This one has a chance of not hitting because these other two hit so hard, right? It comes out, it knocks both of those out of the park. Great job, MCU. Great job, Sony. Sony's next move. Hey,
No,
we're not going to negotiate with you.
You're not. No, you're actually mischaracterizing Sony in all this. Marvel to me is
because I know Marvel. No, yeah, but Marvel pays more money and gets way less than what the proceeds from that movie are. They get way less.
Yeah.
So they naturally, after two, because of Homecoming did extremely well. Also, it took a while. Because it was competing. I remember the competition for Homecoming was they were comparing it with Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman did like really great, and Spider-Man did okay.
Globally,
but it got outshined.
It did gangbusters. Globally, it did gangbusters.
Yeah, Mike, I'm getting to that. Monkey, I'm getting to it.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
I'm getting to it. I said it didn't. It did okay. And then and I was going to say, it did so very slowly. It actually made more money than Wonder Woman. But it was in the aggregate. It was very slowly. Yeah. It very slowly climbed the ladder. So that's it. That movie became a huge success. Okay, so Spider-Man's an active thing. And he was in Civil War. Then he's in all these other things. He's in oh man, there's too many movies, man. There's too many. There's Infinity War. That was a great turn for him.
Let me interrupt you for that.
Infinity War.
To get to the negotiation part, which is what you're talking about. I don't know the specifics of the deal. I don't know if you do. The appearance.
I know that Disney asked for more. No. I know that.
What about this? Let me finish. What about that?
No.
The appearances.
You're the one who interrupts.
In Infinity War, the appearances in Endgame. I'm not sure if Sony gets much. They get a fee for that, but I don't think they're not getting a cut of the gross.
They shouldn't.
They own the license.
They own the license. No, because if you had a licensed character in a movie that I made, I would have to pay you for the license, and then I'd pay you for whatever you negotiated as part of the as what comes from the proceeds. So that's up to you what deal you make. It's not like well, you don't get anything because this is our movie and we're just licensing your character. They have to make that deal. If they didn't think that they made, if they don't feel that they made a great deal for whatever movies that Spider-Man appears in, then that's again on Sony. I don't think Sony makes good decisions. I really don't.
My point is that I think when it comes down to it is that Marvel came up and said we want to rework this deal. Sony's like, we like the deal as it is.
Yeah.
The crux that broke this up was the Spider-Man solo movies, not the appearances in other films. The appearances in other films.
But I'm talking. What I was building up to is that they turned Spider-Man into $1 billion franchise.
They did. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It wasn't. It did the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, which are still my favorite. Set a precedent for super successful comic book movies,
right?
But none of them made $1 billion. But they did set a precedent for tremendously successful comic book movies, tentpole movies, right? That as they're called now. That was non-existent for comic books back in the day, back in the early aughts, right? So Spider-Man becomes this thing. It's the biggest Spider-Man of all time. Disney's like, we want to renegotiate it. And that's, you know what? For Sony not to see that coming, they're idiots. They're going to be like, you got to be sitting there going, this thing made $1 billion and we got most of it. And we didn't put up we didn't front the money for it.
I think you're actually,
I don't.
misrepresenting Sony and all
No.
this, though, because what it came down to was
I am not.
you're
I
Marvel
am
and I'm
not
Sony.
required to give the facts.
You're Marvel
I am
and I'm
required to
you're
give
really embracing
my
this media thing,
opinion
man.
because
You're
I'm not
Marvel.
reporting the news. You're
You're
asking
Marvel.
me.
You're Marvel. I'm Sony. Marvel come up to me and say, we want to renegotiate the deal. Sony, and I say, I don't really want to. But at the end of the day, now Marvel is going to say,
I would
all
never
right,
say at the end of the day. I would
really
never
gonna,
negotiate with you if you said at the end of the day in the midst of an attempt to
we're really going to need to do some sort of negotiation because this deal's not going to work for us and we're not going to do another movie. That's what you're going to say. And then Sony's going to say, well, look, we recognize that you are, one of the a major factor in why we made $1 billion and why this is our greatest. So we'll talk. We'll have discussions. We'll see. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. And in the midst of these discussions, you're just like, hey, by the way, I've been recording this entire time. I'm gonna leak this out to the media.
That's fair, and that's all well and good. You know how I know it was Sony's fault and not Marvel's? Because
Why?
Sony caved and Marvel got everything they wanted.
So
it's
what do you
the
mean?
holdout. The holdout for the deal is Sony. Now, was it a fair deal? Probably not.
Well,
Is it a deal that you would take if you were holding all the cards? Probably the heck no. But what you do is you negotiate because you're like, well, this doesn't work for my company. I can't in good faith make this deal with you because we're holding all the cards now and you want us to hand over the deck.
see,
and
but
that's not going to happen.
what I think Sony got in all this now is, and this is according to Newsarama, Spider-Man may jump between MCU and Sony films. Marvel Studios and Sony's updated deal for Spider-Man to appear in 2 more Marvel Studios productions may include what's described as a shared detail universe arrangement where Spider-Man appears in both the MCU and Sony's universe of Marvel characters, with story elements and references crossing over. This is actually from Deadline originally. The Hollywood Trade's updated coverage of this newly brokered deal describes the arrangement as a call and response, implying that while the 2 universes may not directly cross over, their plot elements and story details will be acknowledged across both studios' films.
How is that Sony winning though? Because now Sony has to put up a substantial amount of cash for the MCU Spider-Man movies, and
which
now
they're going to make a significant amount of money for.
And they have to put up 100% of the cash for their own Spider-Man movies,
which they had to do anyway.
But they were going to do their own movies by themselves without having to put up any cash for anybody else's share in the proceeds.
Yeah, but now you can sit there and say, "Hey, these are now part of the MCU."
We do not know if Sony was not allowed to make any movies with Spider-Man during the first deal with the MCU. We don't know what the stipulation was for that. So we don't know if they actually gained anything or if they just came up with an idea.
I would imagine, since that is now reported in the deal, that it was not part of it. In fact, the original deal was Spider-Man to appear in 3 solo movies and 2 appearance movies in the MCU, and that's what the deal was.
I don't see how that's a win. It's not a win. It's absolutely not a win. You lost. You had everything before. Now you have to share.
You were literally just saying how stupid Sony was, and now you're actually railing them for losing the negotiation.
No. I said they were stupid for not negotiating because their immediate stance was we're not gonna budge. And so when Marvel walked away and pulled whatever bullying tactics they pulled, when they walked away, Sony started to lose not only the battle of public opinion, because now you have people hate Disney, but that means you're not going to get any more of these these really cool Spider-Man movies. People want their comfort food, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, Feige's going to do Star Wars. There's a whole bunch of other news that comes out suddenly almost the next day.
Which we totally forgot to talk about last week, and because there's too much to talk about, we can't even talk about
almost the next day Sony makes this deal. It's because we're gonna lose in the aggregate. We're gonna get washed out. A lot of people were starting to talk. I don't. For the record, I don't believe in this. A lot of people are starting to say I don't believe in arguments that start with that or finish with that. So this is not an aspect of I'm right and here's the proof.
Mm-hmm.
But what the buzz was starting to be that people were like, I'm not going to go see the Sony Spider-Man movie because
Right.
we're not going to get him. We love this Spider-Man because it's in conjunction with all the stuff that's happening
Right.
in the MCU. And
Yeah,
now if
but
you're going to
now-
pretend that the MCU doesn't exist, so they caved. They have to pay Marvel. They have to pay the MCU to co-fund the MCU movies so that they can make their own movies themselves and not be seen as the total villains and have people come to their movies.
All I'm going to say before we move on
that is not necessarily a win.
All I'm going to say before we move on to the next bite is you're going to go watch Morbius with Joker Leto, and they're going to have a hidden, an end credit scene where Tom Holland swings by Morbius's, sewer, wherever the heck he's dwelling at that point. And the internet is going to be buzzing about it. And they're going to be like, you got to go see it because there's this, and there's happened, blah, blah, blah. They're developing a Craven movie, a Madam Web movie.
Yeah.
Venom 2. Venom 2 is going to have.
Let them do it. It's the same idea they had for the Amazing Spider-Man.
But now you have MCU.
But the MCU is not going to sanction any of these other. It's got the only thing that the Sony movies are going to have is Tom Holland. They're not going to be able to reference any of these other things that happen.
No, but that's what this new deal is. No, see, that's what this new deal is saying.
You don't know that. You don't know if they're going to be able to reference. You just know that they're going to be able to use Spider-Man in these movies,
implying that while the two universes of films may not directly cross over, their plot elements and story details will be acknowledged. I think in that end, Sony is not as poor in this outcome.
If you say so. You say so. I think if they had negotiated from the start, they could have probably gotten a better deal. Then they wouldn't have huh?
They were negotiating. They were doing exactly what you do in negotiations, trying to get the best deal for you. At the time, they had the best deal.
They shut the negotiations down without deciding.
That's what Marvel said. That's what Marvel said.
How do you know that that's not the truth? You're deciding what's the truth and what's not the truth. You don't have information on that. It's the same. It's the same thing.
You can infer.
You're just doing
happened.
Speculative. Oh boy!
You can infer. Are you kidding? From what happened?
Are you going to debate something with an infer?
Let me tell you right now.
There's no debating.
If you are holding all the leverage,
you always argue with no math. You never have math in your arguments. You never have the math in your arguments.
You literally just said you don't even do these arguments, but then you argued that exact point.
I'm not because I'm talking about my opinion, right? Which is fine. If you're giving your opinion, that's fine. If you're going to say my opinion is wrong because X, Y, Z, then I'm going to need facts from you. If that's just your opinion, then we'll take it. We'll take it on gospel. But
so you're literally telling me your belief is that the two of them were at the table. They're at this dinner table and they're negotiating, and then Sony's just like, negotiations over. We're all done. This
is what I have successfully
And then Sony went out and
every time.
Sony went out and said, "Hey, by the way, public, just want to let you guys know that we're holding all the cards here. So we've talked about this, and we decided to let Spider-Man back into our universe, and we're gonna do this great thing that's gonna just blow up in our face." No, of course they didn't do that. Marvel did. Marvel's like, okay, if you're going to play hardball, we are going to play hardball. It was still a negotiation. They never left the table. That's my point. They never left the table. The announcements.
That's ridiculous. Sony made announcements themselves.
Well, but they made announcements after it was announced by Marvel that Sony. But
you don't. But see, that's what I'm saying. You don't know.
I actually
don't know that.
Go back
because of the
go to Apple Podcasts. Go download our previous podcast because I did actually quote people who have an industry sources that were saying they never left the table, and it was
and I could quote you about 10 people who said that they did leave the table. That doesn't mean anything.
10 people said they left the table. Who are these people?
Who are the people who said they did?
The guy on our podcast. Go listen to our own show. Go try and actually listen to the show that you're a part of.
That doesn't mean
I don't have him off the top of my head here.
That's neither do I. That doesn't mean he's right. He said he heard that. I mean, it's hearsay. It's all hearsay. How are you arguing hearsay as fact? That's
what
ridiculous.
Is not hearsay is that there's a Joker movie coming out.
Switch it up. There you go. Whenever
there's a Joker movie coming out.
When you flounder in an argument, you always change the subject.
No. When an argument goes way longer than it has to.
That's what happens. You're the one who decided it's gone on too long, and then you change the subject. Yeah,
I heard from some people.
Floundering.
I heard from some people that argument went on for too long. Switching gears.
Me too. You know what? I'm hearing right now in my headset that people want the argument to continue.
Yes, I am reading the Facebook posts. and
okay. Anyway, next.
Joker, Sirebite number 2. Joker director blames far left for film's controversy. Outrage
far left,
a commodity.
Oh my God!
From Entertainment Weekly, Joker director Todd Phillips blamed the far left for some of the criticisms of his film in a new interview. He told The Wrap that outrage addicts are unfairly attacking his Warner Brothers film as their controversy du jour. I think it's because outrage is a commodity. I think it's something that has been a commodity for a while. What's outstanding to me in this discourse, in this movie, is how easily the far left can sound like the far right when it suits their agenda. It's been really eye-opening for me.
Shots fired on both sides. Wow, that's
I 100% agree with that statement because I think he's 100% correct. The one thing I don't understand about
I have absolutely no issue with the fact that the far left can be I don't know, I don't have a negative enough word for it, how the far left can behave, and cancel culture is a cancer. I have no issue with that whatsoever. What I do have issue with is him basically saying, I don't think this movie's gonna make a lot of money as because of lefties.
No, but here's the funny thing though. I'm not reading any of this like controversy, with the exception of security's being beefed up, which they talk about. It says earlier this week, the families of victims of the 2012 mass shooting in a movie theater in Colorado penned a letter to Warner Brothers expressing their concerns, and they urged the studio to use its influence
to call
them
lefties too.
Right. That's the thing I don't understand. In addition, U.S. Army base has recently been warned of dark web chatter making a specific credible threat against an unspecified movie theater. So there's definitely calls for alarm here. So it's not as if it's a crazy thing, but other than that, I don't understand.
Well, okay.
Unless it's maybe Todd Phillips' Twitter feed, maybe
in the admittedly stereotypical world that we live in, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the mass shooters have far right tendencies, right? With
the exception of the Toledo guy recently, right?
That one guy, yeah, the average,
the Ohio guy,
yeah, right. The average. I'm not talking about in general, and we don't even know if these are really far left people or if they just have that paraphernalia on them or whatever because they're trying to hide something else. It's just the average, okay, and it proves nothing. These people. Hot take. These people are deranged. So whatever ideology they have, it really doesn't matter because they're not using their right mind while digesting it in the first place. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you're going to say that the left is basically. I think it's a statement. I think it's a statement designed to ward off whatever potential far right mass shooter may or may not be thinking of paying a visit to the theaters that are showing the Joker.
It's interesting because the Joker,
because it will fit in with the narrative. Like the far right thinks that the far left is going to shoot up these theaters. Everybody in the far left, just as most people on the far right, other than their own particular ideology, they love nothing more than trolling the other side.
Sure.
Right?
I agree with that.
If the far right thinks that they will play into the far left's hands by shooting up a theater, they won't do it. And so I think that this is a long
Todd
game.
Phillips is a hero.
Guys. I just think
maybe Todd Phillips should have negotiated the Spider-Man Sony deal.
Maybe he should have. That's that's my most positive spin on it. I don't think he should have named an ideology, because the culture in and of itself is a cancel culture. It is not any more prominent on one side or the other. I mean, there are different. The far right does it in a different way than the far left does. Right?
Critic reviews right now largely positive
for Joker.
Yeah, 75% fresh. Todd Phillips, isn't it good to have these discussions about these movies, about violence? Why is that a bad thing if the movie does lead to a discourse about it? We didn't make the movie to push buttons. I literally described to Joaquin at one point in the 3 months as like, look, this is a way to sneak a real movie in the studio system under the guise of a comic book film. It wasn't, we want to glorify this behavior. It was literally like, let's make a real movie with a real budget and we'll call it effing Joker. That's what.
But yeah, he's full of crap. Because here's the thing: the bottom line of what he's doing is, and I don't have any objections to it. I really don't. But the bottom line is what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's taking the most, as we've talked about off the air. He's taking the most famous comic book villain of all time,
right?
Save perhaps, and this is a far cry, perhaps Dr. Doom,
right?
The most prominent, certainly more contemporarily, the most prominent comic book villain of all time is the Joker. Okay? Mm-hmm. And he's taking the Joker and he's ostensibly, because we haven't seen the movie, he's ostensibly making him the hero of this movie. He's the protagonist. He's the main protagonist. Doesn't necessarily mean, I don't mean hero in the sense that you're making him a good guy. He's the main focus of this film. Right. We are going to be forced while watching the film to see things from his perspective, whether we reject it or not. That is the basis of it. There's nothing wrong with this per se, but you cannot deny that this is what you're doing, and it is technically a kind of a controversial move to take a villain, and to see him sympathetically. And it is a sympathetic movie towards the Joker only because by having to see life through his eyes, it will make him, even if he's going to be utterly despicable throughout the entire film, it will make him sympathetic because we will have to sympathize with him in order to be able to digest the film, right? So whether that's a good idea or not, it's art. I don't have an ideology about that one way or another. But you do have to admit that what you're doing is a substantial controversy. You're definitely doing it to turn heads. I don't believe any artist when he says I'm not trying to push any buttons with this, because nobody is making any kind of art, commercial or not, to not get attention.
Sure. I mean, he
just doesn't like the kind of attention that he's getting because it's not going to be commercially viable.
No, but I think in the one sense he has a point though too. And Joaquin Phoenix talked about it too. He reportedly walked out of an interview and asked about the controversy.
I totally feel bad for Joaquin.
For most of us, you're able to tell the difference between right and wrong, and those that aren't are capable of interpreting anything in the way they want it to. People misinterpret lyrics from songs. They misinterpret passages from the books. I don't think it's the responsibility of a filmmaker to teach the audience morality or the difference between right and wrong. To me, I think that's obvious. I agree with everything he says there, and I kind of agree with Todd Phillips in a sense too. This cancel culture wants art. It used to be that art imitated life, and would show us something in life and tell a story around it and hopefully teach us something, whether it was pushing you into a certain agenda or not. I think the culture that's grown up on the internet now is expecting the art to be this like parent that they never had.
Expecting the art to live up to all these particular ideals that they think that they have for themselves.
Art is supposed to art's job is not to teach us right or wrong. It's to reflect on what's going on and say, hey,
it's to constantly reinforce and affirm our own beliefs and what's best in ourselves, right? So, and no movie can denigrate race. No movie can denigrate transgendered people. No movie can denigrate white men. No movie can denigrate women. No movie. I mean, no
Right.
movie is going to be able to make a statement about anything in particular without some kind
Right.
of crazy controversy coming up because
Right.
these people are offended by it
Because
they
they're
feel
looking at
exploited.
this saying, no, I want you to reflect back what I want to see,
Exactly.
not what is. And that's not art's job. And that I think is something,
Right.
look,
But here's a
we've
slippery
been
slope
subtly
on the.
talking about this, though, over the last few years of doing this show. And, look, I'm a believer in cycles. I know this is going to cycle out because you're going to have just as many people who are growing up into this cancel culture. You're going to have the people growing up, on the tail end of it being like, well, this is ridiculous. We need to get back to whatever. And it's gonna flip. It just always does. It's just a question of when.
Here's the other side, though.
Mm-hmm.
There's another side to it. The audience is if you're going to exonerate yourself as an artist and say, look, as an artist, I am not obligated to X, Y, or Z. I'm obligated just to make art. The audience is not obligated to digest your art.
I agree.
Okay, so the other side of it is that if you're an artist,
you shouldn't care about that.
You really shouldn't. Okay, now it's a problem because we commercialize everything to the point where if it is not financially successful, or if it stops you from being financially successful, then in some way we interpret that as people stopping us from being from realizing the full potential of whatever art we're trying to create for ourselves, right?
Yep.
The problem is if you monetize your art, if you make your art a financial, you're trying to make your art a financial staple, and you compromise your art that way, and we all do it. I do it. I plan to do it. Everybody does it. It's not a net. I'm not condemning it, but I'm saying the consequences of it. If you are putting if you are putting a level of success on your art that it has to be financially viable, then you in some way do have to cater to the people you're making art for. Okay? So you've already compromised the true depth of your ability to be an artist because you're relying on your audience to have a particular reaction so that you could be successful and make more art. Okay? So in making that deal, you are susceptible to whatever the culture has become. If we become a cancel culture, you have to, if you need to be successful, make work that that coincides with the culture. I don't think anyone should do this, but I'm saying if you're going to turn around and say I am not responsible as an artist to cater to the whims of this audience. I am an artist. I'm making, making genuine statements.
During the time that we're reliving, just didn't care. I mean, I guess I can't say that for sure because I guess they did care, but they would always make it known that they didn't care. So,
yeah, in our day, but the new artists are just as sensitive as the audience.
That's true.
Because now it's like, well, how come no one's gonna go see my movie?
Well, we will be seeing that movie.
You will.
We'll be reviewing it.
I will be in the background going, "Hey, did you like it?" I really liked it, Mike. But tell me more about why you liked it, so that I can pretend to know what the heck is going. I'm kidding. I'll go see it.
It's a really heated first segment. I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna cool it off a little bit. When we come back.
Aaron's gonna calm us all down.
We're gonna dive into a little Birds of Prey trailer, Truth or Trash. New posters coming out. Some Harley Quinn goodness everywhere. Are we living in a DC Renaissance? A DC Sans?
Everything's going to be a Renaissance because of the Keanu Sans, right? That's going to be the new.
That's it.
That's the new statement for everything.
Bring it back, baby.
No, DC's not having a Renaissance. They haven't been gone long enough to be Renaissance. But
when
okay,
when
we come back.
Sire Studios is coming to New York ComicCon 2019, booth 1042, featuring mainstream exclusives, The Art of Mainstream, giving you never-before-seen covers, art, and more. And Descendant, Volume 1 exclusive, collecting all 3 issues together for the very first time. So come on by New York ComicCon 2019, booth 1042 for exclusive comics, prints, and more. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Sire Studios digital network. That's youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire. We're on radiopublic.com, secretsofthesire.com, Blog Talk Radio, and we are part of the Castworks Industries Comedy Network, which we're pretty excited about being on as well, too. And we are also brought to you by, even though it's not in the contract, I took the tour. So I'm very excited about it. The Super Tour of New York City. Discover where your favorite superheroes save the day. Go to
you didn't even tell me you were taking that tour. I saw it all on Facebook. I'm like, oh.
I know. It was really, it was really great.
I should have showed up.
secretsofthesire.com/on location, and it will take you directly to their website. So go check it out.
Awesome sauce.
We are also brought to you by all of our beloved patrons, dedicated fans Tom Osa, Craig Caruso, Einar Peterson, Matt Byer, Ashley Haikai, Omar Morales, Brian Phillips, Steve Hovecki, Stephanie Dolce, and our Uber fan, Christina Dolce. Go to patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. Okay. In the midst of all this stuff, the Joker stuff, Stranger Things dropped a quick little trailer earlier this week. We're not in Hawkins anymore. People are going bonkers about that. It's like it was literally just the title and those words. And
to be real fast about that, basically just recently a whole bunch of people, including like Grace Randolph and some like these prominent YouTubers and stuff, were saying, hey, how come we haven't gotten confirmation of season 4 of Stranger Things yet? Is that something we need to be worried about? Because, blah, blah, blah. And then someone else came along with the theory of, look, these kids are getting older. They are becoming bigger stars. Their lawyers and whatever, their agents are going to be renegotiating to the point where it's not going to make a lot of money. It's not going to be cost effective to continue the series. It's the way it is because, blah, blah, blah. Also, the Netflix notoriety for canceling shows in their third season. So when, a couple of days later when they announced 4, everyone was like, oh, whew, we're hopefully find out what happened to Hopper. Hopefully it will go on at least 2 more years, but at least we're going to get this 1 more year. And, it's just a feel-good thing.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the only guy who's really breaking out, I think, of that cast is Finn Wolfhard, because he's been in a whole bunch of.
But also, Millie Bobby Brown is doing pretty good.
You're right. You're 100% right. Both of them are the breakout stars of that so far. So,
yep.
But yeah, so there was
and also David Harbour. David Harbour's been doing pretty good for himself.
Okay, I stand corrected. I'm over too. Kevin Feige could be doing some Star Wars movies. I mean, there's all this stuff going on, and then DC decides to drop the Harley Quinn posters Monday.
Yeah, they
did. And then last night dropped the trailer for Birds of Prey. And I ask you, because you're very literal when it comes to the trailer truth or trash thing that we have going on. Honestly, I just did it because it's alliteration and it's pretty cool. You're like, well, what's the trailer truth or trash about it? So I came up with one for you.
Okay.
Is this based on the trailer, based on all the posters, especially the marketing? I mean, and it's basically the subtitle too. Isn't it pretty much just our Harley Quinn solo movie? Like, why even do a Birds of Prey?
There certainly is a substantial amount of Harley Quinn in it. I think if it's going to be, even if it is an ensemble cast, they're going to showcase Harley Quinn. It's going to become, let's look at it as a microcosmic version of what the X-Men became after Hugh Jackman became a superstar. So yeah, there's a team, but it's Wolverine and the X-Men, So yeah, Margot Robbie is probably going to be the most prominent. Her Harley Quinn, her character, is the most prominent out of.
She's wearing pants now.
Yeah,
she's wearing that Joker tattoo into a mermaid or something. It's really exciting.
It's a slippery slope, that character, because
she's
a lot of
actually
psychological reasons. It's a slippery slope, that character.
She is actually, that character is on par with like a Wolverine in the comics universe. And I say that, and I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that specifically because of the impact that character had on female comic book readers. Obviously
Well, she originated with the animated series,
right. I mean,
as a
for people
lark,
growing up, I mean,
actually.
she is like a generational character that comes along that connects with an audience, both male and female, for
Yeah.
different reasons. So she actually, I mean, she brought something.
I know several girls. I know one woman who we mutually know, who we used to work with,
Mm-hmm.
who is a tremendous, like a monstrous Harley Quinn fan.
Yeah.
And I think, as a guy, you don't quite get it, like, all right, but
Right.
it's because it's not speaking to us, So yeah,
No, but she was always a cool
amazingly
character
important.
though too. Like that's what I'm saying. It's not a small potatoes character. So I mean, again, I
No.
think your analogy Wolverine is actually spot on because she is a specific generation, especially females generation of Wolverine. I mean, as a kid, like, well, Gambit was my personal favorite, but before Gambit, it was Wolverine. Like, who wouldn't want to just be like, I'm gonna,
certain characters become the personification of whatever the fantasy is that they're selling.
Sure.
So yeah, Wolverine definitely got the zeitgeist, and Harley Quinn is probably
So
coming up right behind him.
is this a DC Sans? DC Sans or DC Renaissance? I mean, look, Joker's hitting this weekend. Shazam did very, very well. Aquaman did very, very well. Is DC kind of
I don't know.
like
Shazam arguably did really well. I think Shazam was a little
did
disappointing.
very well. No, it did very well,
Critically,
and it beat its expectations. Anything that beats its expectations is a win. Aquaman did tremendous business. And
Aquaman is
critically
a
also.
bona fide hit.
Yeah,
it's a bona fide $1 billion hit. So,
I mean, it's neat for us because actually part of me was like, "Whoa, February! I didn't realize there was something coming out." So I'm glad the trailer hit. I'm glad we're just going to start hyping it up. I'm sure they're going to do some Birds of Prey stuff at New York ComicCon this weekend. So I think that's kind of exciting. But
I don't know if we can call it a DC essence just yet.
No.
I think DC hasn't been in the woods long enough to have a resurgence. That's A. But B, I wouldn't actually call it a genuine resurgence until they got the Superman and the Batman thing off the ground, and figure out exactly what they're going to do. Look, I did not love the movie Man of Steel. I was one of the few people who thought that there was something worth watching in Batman versus Superman, even though I would never say that was a good movie either.
Sure.
I think Justice League was just flaccid. It just
a flaming piece of garbage.
Yeah, well, I don't know it just wasn't. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't good. You can't put that up against any of the Avengers movies and be serious about it. But Henry Cavill, never had a question about him. Never, right. Not once. I'm like, okay, right. Superman, gotcha. All right, we'll keep him. I liked Affleck. I liked Affleck's Batman. I understand that there's a lot of controversy behind it, and they couldn't keep him. We'll see what Patterson does. I typically after the Heath Ledger situation, I do not mock any casting choice until I've seen them.
Joaquin Phoenix coming out with Joker.
Yeah, I don't mock. I don't mock.
There is more certainty to the DC universe right now than the Marvel universe right now because there's photos of like the Eternal. The Eternal is the big thing, but
no.
What's the big hook?
No,
what's the big hook?
Nothing is certain. I don't do the certainty. If people are more optimistic about these things,
no, I'll
give it that.
The certainty of they actually have something tangible they can hold on to. Margot Robbie.
How can you be certain about it though? How can you say that's a certainty?
Not a question of whether it's going to be good or not. Just that they have these things to look forward to. It's a concrete. It's visible. It's something that people can actually look forward to.
But I mean, you could look forward to. You could have looked forward to Justice League. Before you actually saw it.
Oh well, yeah. No,
I mean,
exactly right.
That's not a level of certainty. There's optimism. there's hope.
Right.
There's perhaps, as far as I'll go, there's a unearned confidence, that these movies these things are gonna do pretty well, that the buzz behind them is right, and people are actually gonna enjoy themselves. I think just as I said when Aquaman came around, I think people are ready to love these DC movies. I think they're ready to get a good before it was like you guys are trying to be the MCU and you're not doing it,
right.
So we're not going to
no, they pivoted
the love
pretty
you
much
deserve.
pivoted and they did it at exactly the right time, and they've now kind of, Wonder Woman also, they've garnered enough cash
hopefully
in the bank where they can sit there and say, you know what,
these movies have not been full-on financial disasters.
No,
they've been social media disasters. They've definitely been public opinion disasters.
Margot Robbie was the best part of Suicide Squad. And again,
but Suicide Squad was a successful movie.
I don't have affinity for that character, as we kind of were talking about. Like, it's not like I'm sitting there going like, "Oh, this is like my holy grail." But for a lot of people, it is. Her Harley Quinn is like the definitive Harley Quinn now for a bunch of people growing up. Do you know? And I'm legitimately asking because I don't know. Is there a division of Harley Quinn fandom over Margot Robbie's performance?
I don't know, but I haven't heard any backlash. I haven't heard any people saying, no, this is not Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So look, we've been lucky, really. Yeah. We haven't had too many people who have been cast. When they cast a comic book character, if that movie does any business, if it does decent business, everyone's like, okay, that's that guy. So Wesley Snipes was Blade until Mahershala Ali comes along and does something better. Wesley Snipes is always going to be Blade. I think the gold standard of all that, of course, was Hugh Jackman. I think once Hugh Jackman came along, because I think there was absolute doubt that any superhero other than Superman or Batman could be realized.
Sure.
And then, so in that, the logic is you'll never get Wolverine right. There's no way. There's no way. So Hugh Jackman comes along with that first X-Men movie. Only thing in that movie I really liked was Hugh Jackman, and the beginning was like he's too tall. He's too tall. He's not hairy enough, right?
Yeah.
He personified that character so well that they literally changed the way the character looked in the comic book to fit more Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
So we've been really lucky since then that Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man. Tom Holland is Spider-Man. I think Garfield gets a little guff but those movies weren't really that successful.
It's amazing too. Robbie's been all over the place. Margot Robbie. Is it Robbie or Robbie? I thought it was Margot Robbie.
Robbie? I think it's a preference.
It's a preference.
It's a preference of. It might be Robbie. I've heard Robbie. So
yeah, I've heard both too, actually, though. So I'm not sure exactly. But I think she's been in so many critically acclaimed movies now. She was in Wolf of Wall Street. She's done.
She's bona fide. She's a bona fide.
However, this is like her defining character. It's amazing, like how
which was really tough for her because Harley Quinn was well established before she got near it, right? Yeah. And like I said to you off the air, I think she kind of bombshells her way through it a little too much because from what I got from the character, and this is from my perspective, I never thought that she was a sexy bombshell. I know there's a fetish.
Right.
I know she could be easily fetishized, but it was more her psychology that was interesting than the sexy bombshell aspect. And Margot Robbie, especially in Suicide Squad, played her as a bombshell.
Right.
I think she did a good job. I don't have any issue with it. But that part is definitely played up a lot more than the character.
And you look like Margot Robbie. You want to look like Margot Robbie, I guess. She's not doing the Charlize Theron monster Oscar.
Whatever. You're in that alone.
I'm just saying.
That's not where I was going with that. But anyway,
you're saying she bombshelled it. I'm saying
she bombshelled it. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying that's a right or wrong. I'm saying that's a choice that she made for that character. That's not. Excuse me.
Bless you.
We'll cut that. That's a aspect of that character that wasn't in the animated origins of that character. So,
Yeah.
and it would be harder to do in comic books than it is to do in movies.
Sure.
Now it's an easy note to hit, and she is an incredibly attractive woman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a no-brainer, but it's not. We'll see now if she's able to do something cogent with the character, as opposed to she's got the look, she's got the crazy riot girl look that she's nailed, and now Harley Quinn's becoming more her than she is, than she became Harley Quinn, right? So it's going to be her. She's going to be synonymous with it for as ever long as she decides to play it, especially if this movie is successful.
Trailer Truth or Trash. Is this a Harley Quinn solo movie?
Yeah.
I say.
I don't think it's a solo movie. I think it's going to be Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey. It's just like Hugh Jackman and the X-Men, in all the subsequent X-Men movies. It was Hugh Jackman and these other guys who have powers.
Yeah, I agree with you too. All right, when we come back, we go spinning the racks with Chris Arrant from Newsarama. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every week. We go spinning the racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture. We have our favorite guest. That's right. We've declared him as our favorite guest because he comes on the most. Mr. Chris Arrant from Newsarama. He is going to give us the lowdown on a whole bunch of stuff. Chris, we were just earlier lamenting that there's an entire like during the dregs of August, I'm like scrounging around trying to find something. I'm desperate to find topics. September also, and all of a sudden, boom! New York ComicCon. Great, we're happy on to talk about New York ComicCon. Oh yeah, and Spider-Man's back, and oh yeah, the Birds of Prey trailer. Oh yeah, and there's this crisis of Infinite Earth things going on. There's all these things happening all at once. Why did you make this happen?
That's just where you put me on the schedule. Like if you need ideas for more shows, just let me know and I'll come.
I like that. All right, let's start off the top. The Birds of Prey trailer. Obviously, we were talking about that earlier. What's some good tie-in stuff to kind of get people excited for February?
There's news that's come out that DC's doing a new Birds of Prey comic with Brian Azzarello and Emanuela Lupacchino. Originally, it was going to come out in 2019, but then in a surprise move, they delayed it to February 2020, which will tie in when the movie comes out.
Look at that.
DC Black Label, which for Newsarama, I pretty much equated it to people. It's an adults-only Birds of Prey comic. And this is Brian Azzarello, which makes it people who read Batman Damned can kind of wonder what they're doing. But also, I'm curious because DC Black Label is generally not in continuity, so I'm curious to what they're going to be doing with it. But going back in the past, I always go back and recommend Gail Simone's Birds of Prey run. Even though she wasn't the first Birds of Prey writer, that goes to Chuck Dixon. I really think her Birds of Prey run is the one that everybody should go back to.
All right, so people get excited for that, and they'll get excited for more Batman penis possibly in Black Label. Jumping over, we talk about Joker, we talk about the security concerns, but maybe we'll jump back to that later. Spider-Man, that was the big news, obviously, but it was kind of funny because it was kind of like a whimper of news after like the big hoopla that kind of went through, and then by the way, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, he's back in the universe, but not quite the way we expected, right?
Kind of the way that some people hoped. Like I'm kind of concerned in the way it was. It seemed from one vantage point, people could speculate that it was kind of publicly negotiated for fans to kind of choose a side in all this, but I guess Marvel got the terms they want to come back and do more. I like that they pretty much from this new get-go have made it a finite thing where it's just one more Spider-Man movie, one more MCU appearance. So maybe they can treat this as a goodbye and then Spider-Man Tom Holland transitions to the Sony universe, or they renegotiate again in a couple of years and we have the same conversation and they just keep renewing for one more.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like pro wrestling where a guy's about to retire and they come back for one more match. So we'll see. Story wise, like I'm glad that Spider-Man's staying in the MCU, but I'm also glad characters like Aunt May and Ned and everybody else all also get a chance to tell more story with those characters. Like you really don't want Happy Hogan to be all bummed out and turning goth and the next thing because Aunt May's no more. So I'm glad that Aunt May's staying around.
Now, this supposedly a story on Newsarama a few days ago was that he, would potentially be in other Spider-Man films, and you and I are kind of talking off air. The audience is kind of like used to this now, thanks to the Miles Morales Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie, right? I mean, so it's not a foreign thing that he could be in like one of in one or both universes, right?
Yeah, it's a really neat coincidence that the Into the Spider-Verse movie was seen by so many people, but that kind of have trained people to kind of expect if there's any character that's going to have some multiverse jumping hijinks going on, then this would be the character for it. So if Tom Holland's Spider-Man does jump back and forth between Sony's cinematic universe with the Tom Hardy Venom, the Jared Leto Morbius, and everybody else back and forth, that would be interesting. There's been 2 reports confirmed that Tom Holland almost voiced Peter Parker in the Spider-Verse movie previously. And from everything Kevin Feige said, it's kind of a decision up to Sony whether to use him or not. So
interesting.
Possibly the door's always been open, but for some reason it didn't happen. But now more so than ever, the door is open further. But what I'd be interested in seeing is maybe what if they can work out a deal where they do a crossover movie that is Sony's Spider-Verse, maybe wait a couple years with a actual MCU character, not just Spider-Man, but maybe some unique crossover there. Like, I don't know, like what if the Venom symbiote crashed into the MCU for a movie or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be really. Look, at this point, the MCU and Marvel and just in general, like, there's nothing that would shock me when it comes to this stuff, just because of how much they've accomplished now and how much weight they've kind of, goodwill they've accumulated over this amount of time. So at this point, I'd almost expect it in a way, because just giving people a superhero movie these days now, thanks to the MCU, is almost kind of mundane, right?
Exactly. It's not just about being you get a superhero movie, like even if it's good or not. Now it has to be a good movie first and a superhero movie second.
Yeah. Jumping back over to DC for a sec, we're very happy to have you on, because I guess you were saying the big talk the last 2 weeks is about all the Arrowverse, the Crisis of Infinite Earths stuff that's happening, and we just don't watch the shows. We should. Hassan, we'll get on that.
No.
Netflix, possibly.
Yeah, the more recent ones, yeah, definitely. But I mean, come on, man. There's 20 episodes per season.
I know.
I'm never gonna catch up with the Arrow. That's never gonna happen. When do you have that? I don't have that kind of time. I haven't finished watching Dark Crystal. That's 10 episodes.
I'm still on episode 1 of Glow. I haven't even.
And you love that show, so I mean, come on. There's no way we're cycling through that.
Challenger went down. They're really bummed. They don't know if they should put the show on.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. I haven't gotten through that one yet. Chris, tell us about the exciting Superman announcements for this crossover.
Well, first I'd like to step back for like those that haven't been into the Arrowverse shows. The last 2 crossovers have been relatively standalone, where you could jump in and just watch, for instance, Elseworlds last year. Hopefully, Crisis will be on a similar.
I didn't see Elseworlds. I saw the one before that, which I don't think was supposedly an actual adaptation. Right? There was a one 2 years ago. There was because they've done one each year for the last maybe 4 years or something like that. So I caught the one from 2 years ago, which just featured all the superheroes per show, but it wasn't if I can remember correctly, it wasn't an overall story. It wasn't a comic book adaptation, right? The last two have been attempts to kind of adapt classic comic book crossovers, correct?
Yes, they did Invasion, I believe, 2 years ago, and they did Elseworlds last year, and they're doing Crisis this year. What makes this one different is as things that were once new and interesting have become passé. They've kind of upped the stakes where it's not just about the TV shows crossing over, but they're bringing in all these DC actor alumni. They're bringing Kevin Conroy from Batman the Animated Series to do an older Bruce Wayne, where he's gonna not just do the voice but show up as an older Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
As that for most people, what that comes to mind is The Dark Knight Returns. But I'm personally would love a Batman Beyond tease.
Isn't Dark Knight Returns? Isn't that Peter Weller? Didn't Peter Weller do Conroy's voice?
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, Batman's voice in The Dark Knight Returns. But that's got nothing to do with it, right? Kevin Conroy is definitely the
Well, Kevin Conroy, as we know from our interview that we had, he's a classically trained actor. So I mean, he's not only, but he
is definitive Batman.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that makes much more sense. I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
He is absolutely definitive Batman.
But they've got they got Burt Ward, who played Robin in the 1960s Batman, coming back. I hope they just do that just for a 5-minute sequence where they go to that universe and have Biff Bam Pow. And I would love to see some of the Catwoman actors from the 1960s Batman show to show up as well.
Julie Newmar and Eartha Kitt.
Lee Merriweather.
Yes.
Boom.
But the big for Newsarama, what everybody seems to be just popping over, is Brandon Routh showing off his Kingdom Come Superman.
Yeah,
I've seen that all over the place.
It looks awesome. I mean, let's just be real, right? It looks like Alex Ross come to life.
Yeah, Brandon Routh,
and it's
colors here.
It's a combination of it's a combination of three things. It's Brandon Routh's Superman in and of itself. It's a combination of Brandon Routh's Superman, Alex Ross's Kingdom Come, and also because Brandon Routh resembles Christopher Reeve so well.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a hint of the Christopher Reeve to it. So it's kind of an amazing image. It really is.
Yeah, and then at the same time they announced that he's finishing up on Brandon Routh as the Atom is finishing up on Legends of Tomorrow. So he's leaving that show after this crossover. But then just a couple days ago, they cast an actor to play the Ryan Choi Atom to debut in Crisis as well. And that's really getting people going. But as all this is going on, there's also Tom Welling is saying the reports were very specific. He says Tom Welling, who is from Smallville, playing Clark Kent, and for the last little bit of the show played Superman. He said he was coming back as Clark Kent. They didn't say Superman.
Right.
So will we get to see him in the full costume doing all sorts of Superman-y stuff? Who knows? But there's been an Instagram photo of him standing with the Arrowverse Superman, played by Tyler Hoechlin, and the Arrowverse Lois Lane, all standing in front of the old yellow Kent family farm from Smallville. That's really hitting some people pretty hard that were fans of Smallville. So I think there's a lot going on, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few things they're holding back that they're not going to show you until you actually watch the episodes.
I would hope so. I would hope so, because then
When does this all start?
That was my next question.
That all starts in December. They got 3 episodes in December, and then they take a winter break, and then they have 2 more in January.
Oh, nice.
So Hassan, I'm going to throw the gauntlet down. We're going to just jump in. We're going to watch these episodes.
We're gonna do. without any prior knowledge of any
without
of the
any
other
prior
shows.
knowledge. And the reason being is that I don't have to find anything to talk about in December. It's really great.
Oh my god!
I know we have this like little thing called Star
You're not
Wars.
supposed to say those things, though.
And we
You're
have
supposed
our-
to. Those
we have our
that's
Star
supposed to be your
Wars-
ulterior motive, but you're not supposed to mention your ulterior motive.
We have our Star Wars celebration in December.
I don't know.
We're gonna
if
do our
it's
live
gonna be a
episode.
celebration.
But
Are we
other
gonna
than that-
celebrate?
This is great. See, it's all good.
We might not be celebrating the Star Wars thing. It was like the last time.
Yeah.
It might not be a celebration.
So the big thing going on starting tomorrow is New York ComicCon. We'll be there at booth 1042 at Sire Studios. Come check us out. Chris, the big thing, what are people buzzing about in the Newsarama offices in terms of New York ComicCon, and like what's the big thing people want to go see, or is there anything on the docket that that really has people kind of like, excited for?
I think since the Joker movie is going to be coming out over the weekend, for anybody going to New York Comic Con, you're probably going to see a lot of Joker cosplay. So if you like it, great. If you don't like it, then you might want to, I don't know, take some Advil. I'm curious to see Marvel and DC on the comic side have kind of made the beginnings or teases of big announcements coming. I bet they're going to have some further announcements about James Tynion and Tony Daniels' Batman run, which begins in January. I'm curious to see what they reveal about the Iron Man 2020 event with Dan Slott, with Arno Stark and that Iron Man. And there's always Scott Snyder and the sequel to Dark Knight's Metal, who the sequel was announced almost 2 years ago now, but it's supposed to be coming in 2020. So I imagine this would be a great place to reveal more about that. I think 2020 is going to be a big year for Batman.
Does DC even have a booth there though? I feel like they're doing like an event at their office. So I'm not sure if they're even.
I would have to check. I know they have an off-site Harley Quinn booth with my friend Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor going to be. That's separate from the convention. I know they're doing interviews on site. I don't know if they're going to have a booth off the top of my head. People should probably just check the floor plans when they get there to see. It might be like San Diego where they have a combined Warner Brothers DC booth.
Yeah, that's probably what it is, because I didn't see DC specifically. I think there is a Warner Brothers booth, but then the DC offices, which again, I don't understand this. There's a tour of the DC offices, but the DC offices are in LA, so I'm not sure what's going on. I will have to report from the floor. Well, actually, I won't, because I'll be stuck in a booth all day. But I'll figure it out, and I'll let you know, because it was my friend was texting me, and I was like, that is kind of weird, actually. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but any concerns? Joker movie security. I know that's a big thing. We kind of talked about that earlier today too. I know people are really beefing up for some sort of incident that may or may not occur.
Yeah, I just think with the tenor of the world right now and what happened with Dark Knight Rises, I think there's a lot of concern out there. Alamo Drafthouse has said they're beefing up security for their locations. Landmark Cinemas, which is about a 50 theater chain in the United States and Canada, is adjusting their rules for cosplay.
Yeah, cosplay. Yep.
I hope nothing happens and everybody has a clear head and they look at everything. Like, I'd hate for something to happen. We just gotta, I don't know, just be careful and just kind of, if you don't feel comfortable, don't go.
Yeah. Well, we will definitely be there because we're going to be watching that movie.
So we're gluttons for punishment.
We'll be reviewing it next week. Chris, you officially spun the racks with us because this is our Spun the Rack segment. That's how comfortable we are with you. We've just assimilated you into our Spin the Rack segment now. See?
Great.
Next week, we'll be reviewing Joker. And we will be bringing in more experts to talk about Joker. And once again, we want to thank our sponsor, the Superhero Tour. Go do the Superhero Tour and go see us tomorrow, booth 1042, Sire Studios. We will see you next week.